Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward. Don't forget the oppressed. And when you go to sleep at night.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of A Time to Please Allah with your host Gabriel Al-Romaani and your host
Ismail Bullock.
And I hope you tune in, as always, 6:30 p.m. Mecca time, 7:30 Dubai, UAE time, to this amazing show, talking about a whole bunch of different things that a lot of people don't talk about. And I just want to mention I said I was going to mention it, the nasheed, the intro. It's just amazing, and you always like to just to sing it. I love it. I don't know. It's like it's really.
Wasn't expecting that one to come out. My secret karaoke.
I know. It's every time before I start the show, you have that one part where you always have to.
And adorning Al-Jannah for you.
That's it.
That part, yes.
You're quite good, Ismail, mashallah. But it's a nice nasheed. It's a beautiful nasheed. I think it was Ahmed who picked this nasheed, right?
Brother Ahmed Fahmi.
Brother Fahmi, may Allah bless him. Mashallah.
Even the words. I mean, the words have a nice meaning to them as well.
Who's this? I still don't know who the singer is.
It's a group. I think they're called.
Munshid.
I can't verify. I don't know the nasheeds and what they might say in other nasheeds, but I think the name of the group is Labbaik. I think.
Labbaik. Okay.
Again, I'm not verifying them or.
Yes, but it's a beautiful nasheed. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So our show, if you're just tuning in, is the first time you're seeing our show. It's a show about different things, different issues that Muslims are facing in the 21st century. We're talking about stories of reverts, converts, whatever you want to call them. We're talking about issues such as magic that we talked about last show, and it was a really good show, and how that affects the Muslims. We talked about tawakkul, and we talked about the issue of putting your trust in Allah, and the issues of ta'weed, and we had amazing guests. We always have some interesting guests to share their stories and their insights. And we always like to hear from you, the audience, and there's the number on the screen that you can call us on, and you can tell us, give us your recommendations. What would you like to hear? What would you like us to talk about? You can share your story and your stories with us. You can send us your your messages on Facebook on A Time to Please Allah. And you can also hit us up on our personal pages. You have Ismail Bullock. You can search on Facebook, and Gabriel Al-Romaani again. And you can send us a message, and we're always ready to answer. And if we cannot answer, we usually try to link you up with someone who can answer your questions. Alhamdulillah. Last week we had Dr. Muhammad Salah on, and that was a really nice telecommunication, teleconversation, tele-interview. And it was very cool, how he dealt with the topic. And alhamdulillah. So give us a shout. Today we are talking again. We decided to go back to. We found that a lot of people are very interested. And it's quite inspiring, right, to hear always the different stories of reverts and how they have come to Islam. And inshallah, today we'll have one of our brothers who's a nice, interesting mix, is Italian and French, right? And to hear his stories, how he became Muslim. It's always inspiring to see there's some kind of something common between all these stories. Yet every story has their own particular twist. But you'll find, even subhanAllah, when you look at the story of Salman al-Farsi, right? It's the same thing. It's like that quest for truth and going through hardship sometimes. Be it, hardship doesn't come only like financial or, that you're sick or something happens to you. But there's hardships through, many different levels. SubhanAllah has that whole, plot of, looking for something or, the spiritual enlightenment that takes place, or path. You're looking for the truth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides you, and by closing some doors and opening others for you. And then later on, when you look back, you realize that subhanallah, things that I thought at that time, when I was in that moment, that they were harsh or difficult, or I wish they wouldn't happened. Now when I look at it back 10 years after, I see that subhanallah, if that wouldn't happened, I would have not been here today. I would have not been a Muslim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one al-Qadir who decrees, and subhanallah, everything goes according to His plan and His decree. So that's something beautiful. And that, going back to the story of Salman al-Farsi, it was something that really inspired me. Subhanallah, that what Salman al-Farsi had to go through, and the fact that he was not an Arab. And I always wondered, subhanallah, that the status that he had in Islam, that the Prophet ﷺ said that Salman min ahli, like Salman is from my family, that the Prophet ﷺ said that he's from my family, and he gave him that status, that high status, and the love that he had for the Prophet ﷺ, and what he had to go into slavery, and then being sold and bought and then freed, and subhanallah, and just to show that, and also the amazing brotherhood lesson that we take from there, when all the Sahaba kind of got together and bought his freedom out. So that's something very inspirational, I think, to a lot of people. And as I said before, one of the most searched things on Google when it comes to Islam is the word convert, revert, and so on. So let us, one thing that I wanted to speak to our audience today about, and to kind of bring it up, is the issue of, and I'm sure a lot of people are very aware now, it's quite popular on Facebook, with like superstars or movie stars or music stars converting to Islam, coming to Islam, reverting to Islam, or thinking about it or being very close to it. And there a lot of things are hyped up. You'll find like Britney Spears converted to Islam or something, like people start putting it all over Facebook.
Paris Hilton. There was the whole thing of Paris Hilton had become Muslim, and they'd found some picture of her where she was had some kind of what looked like a headscarf. So there was the whole Paris Hilton's become Muslim, and Neil Armstrong's become Muslim,
right,
and King Kong has become Muslim, and all kinds of stuff.
Right, and that's the weird thing, is that it also shows how gullible sometimes some people can be. Of course, we would, and let's look at it from two different sides. One side, it shows that we're gullible meaning like we just believe anything, and easily to be fooled. And on the other side, let's look at it from a more, I would say, very innocent way, because the Muslims always wishes well for everyone, right? So like actually Muslims would wish that these people would become Muslim, So that's why sometimes they're very happy and very fast, to embrace this news, because they know, alhamdulillah, that Islam is the haqq. And they know that even these people who are, subhanAllah, sometimes they look so away from the truth, the Muslims know that even these people could come to Islam easily, right? So they're very happy when they hear, oh my God, Paris Hilton? Yeah, no matter what people said about her, no matter what kind of movie she made or what kind of thing, people are like, hey, she became Muslim, mashallah, I'm so happy. Or, anyone who's, who appears to be far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when people find out, they became Muslim, they're very happy, and that's why they're sometimes very gullible and very easy, start spreading the news, and people start writing things and saying, as you said, with the issue with Neil Armstrong. Now, a lot of people are like, what? Neil Armstrong didn't become Muslim? Right? That he went on the moon and he heard the adhan or something like that, right? And then he became Muslim. There's even like websites and articles that, try to put this idea forth. And of course, there's no basis for that. There's no proof whatsoever. And we as Muslims are ordered to say the truth, Ya alladhina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'a as-sadiqin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be with those who are truthful, who say truth. And even though we would wish for a lot of these things to happen, sometimes if it doesn't happen, if it is not true, we should only speak the truth and not distort things, not add to it, because it becomes a lie, and it's written for us as a lie. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the ignorant people when they're doing that. What are some other interesting characters or stars that you've... Let's put the ones that are not true and the ones that we know that are true, for example. I know that from the true, I know that Mike Tyson, that I know for sure because there's...
Seen him in Umrah.
Yeah, there he goes for Umrah. And there are some of the brothers that I know personally have taken him for Umrah. I know that...
what was it?
Jermaine Jackson.
The CDA.
The CDA brothers, yeah. I know that Jermaine Jackson is a Muslim.
Yeah.
Okay, and he insisted, and he says that Michael Jackson was a Muslim. So that's still like, people are, Allah Alam, and they're saying, some people are saying no, some people are saying yes. Allah Alam, we leave that up to Allah. But I know that people did pray janazah for Michael Jackson in many different countries, بالغيب, in his absence. I also know that some of the basketball players have become Muslim, and they're Muslim. I think there's some good possibility or good information about like Shaquille O'Neal, being very close to Islam. Not sure whether he became Muslim or not, but Shaquille O'Neal being very close to Islam.
At least he won't have to change his name. At least he won't have to change his name.
Why?
Shaquille.
Oh yeah.
It's a very common Indo-subcontinent name.
Right. So that, and now recently that we've seen this Indian singer. What's his name?
Hans Raj Hans,
right? And it's a lot of people are very shocked, right, that he became Muslim. I think just recently, a couple of days ago, and he wants to go to Medina, right? He's saying that he wants to go to Medina and visit the city of the Prophet ﷺ. And even about a week ago or so, another famous compositor and singer from India also announced his conversion to Islam. And of course, the whole thing on Facebook with Tyrese, being close to Islam, and him posting some of the videos of one of the brothers.
I think that was I think some of that, yeah, of course, that purpose of life. But I think also that was kind of, like you said, Muslims becoming very happy and zealous, and that they kind of blew that out of proportion. Now, I know that people were making videos for Tyrese, and getting a bit out of control,
Recently, I posted a video, I think yesterday or the day before, I saw it, and he's kind of talking about prayer. And it's weird because the words he uses and the concept he uses are very Islamic. And that's why I think a lot of people are sharing that. I don't know if he realizes that.
I think a lot of those people, they have that thing where they're kind of close, but they're still far, if you know what I mean. So they close, but then they still, I get to go in my own way,
Yeah.
I have love for Islam, or I respect the Islamic religion and its principles, but each to his own,
Right.
All they have that famous saying, don't they, that always lead to God. So I think he, I haven't been following that much, but from what I've seen here and there, he seems to be on that kind of. He has a lot of respect for Islam and a lot of love for the Muslims that he saw and the Arabs that he saw in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but he seems to be not really fully into that.
I think he visited, when he visited Dubai, he was with Sheikh Fazal, right? And he had a great time. He was very impressed by the
hospitality.
He was very impressed by the hospitality and the beauty of the brotherhood. And you can see him like he's wearing a thobe, and I think Will Smith was with him, right? So anyway, we want to hear from you if you have any things that for sure, the people superstars that I know that Dave Chappelle was one of the very famous ones.
He's actually got a brother, I think, called Omar Lee Chappelle or something.
His name is actually William Chappelle, and I've met him in Toronto, and he's a really, mashallah, a very strong brother, mashallah, and he does a lot of work.
And you have that Mos Def as well, don't you?
Mos Def and other brothers. But that was one of the shocking things to a lot of people, right? Because, Dave Chappelle was like Dave Chappelle, and he actually changed a lot, subhanAllah. So anyway, we want to hear from you as well. If you have some, you want to share some names of people that stars movie stars or anything like that.
If you're famous and you want to take Shahada now, give us a call.
Give us a call. And also the ones that are not true, or you heard that people have. What's that the name of that actor who's very famous? He played in a lot of good movies.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Because he actually said though he's looking into Islam, right?
Yeah. But a lot of people are like, did Liam Neeson convert to Islam? So they kind of started spreading that around.
Who knows? Maybe Madonna, because Madonna was dating, unfortunately, a Muslim guy, so she started, which she no longer is, I think.
Well, bringing that
she was
also
reading the Quran or something. I mean, I follow the news, so you pick these things up in the news.
The same thing with Janet Jackson, right? She was shopping for abayas in
because she's married to a Qatari
married
now.
to a Muslim.
So maybe she took the Shahada for the marriage. Allahu Alam.
Allahu Alam. Anyway, we want to hear from you, and inshallah we have a short break, and we will be back with our guest right after this. Inshallah, see you in a few. Assalamu alaikum.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says.
We can't just take knowledge and keep it as information. We have to transfer it into action. When he got up, he said one thing. Asalla nas? Did the people pray? In Hajj, for example, the primary example of how multiculturalism really looks like. All equal. I've got a dentist in Canada. Even though he's ripping holes in my teeth, he's got great akhlaq. I love visiting him. Identify the issue. Analyze it. Challenge it. And then try again. Because if you fail, big deal. Try again and keep trying.
If I think I lost my ablution, but I'm not sure, do I have to make wudu again? Is it allowed for Muslims to visit the graveyard, or is that shirk? Am I allowed to say Jummah Mubarak to someone? Can I get to know a sister before marriage? I have so many questions, and I feel that I've just reached a dead end. If only I could find someone trustworthy to answer my questions. Someone who speaks based on proof from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Now, just before we went to the break, obviously we were talking about stories of new Muslims, and as there was a few news articles, we were talking about famous people, and actually before we went to the break, we were mentioning some of those interesting fake new Muslim stories. I remember during the break, there was one time they said Prince Charles had become Muslim, and Princess Diana, because she had a partner who happened to be a Muslim.
Also Angelina Jolie, right? That was also one of the ones.
Interesting.
Cristiano Ronaldo also, some people are saying.
Yes, I think everybody, Cristiano Ronaldo donates some money to Palestine, and he's become a Muslim.
Oh, he donated some money to Palestine?
Yeah.
Right, I didn't know that.
Something like that, yeah, I remember.
What else? I mean, there's other ones that, I mean, we know of the famous ones that have become Muslim, mashallah, like Malcolm X, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. Quite a few people also. There was one Sir from the British.
I forgot his name, but he was someone who recently the Queen's appointed him as some kind of consultant or royal.
He's the representative actually of the Queen. So that's a high position actually. It's a lord or something like that, and he's one of the converts to Islam. So that was something. Recently the American ambassador in Sudan.
Okay.
Became Muslim. Yes, and that was about 2 weeks ago. The ambassador. In American Sudan. That was pretty interesting. And I'll stop there. I won't comment more on that story, but yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. And speaking about Sudan, I don't know, just kind of take a tangent off, but I'm sure most people have seen the video of the Sudani shepherd. The righteous Sudani shepherd. With the guys go and they try to use that whole story of Ibn Omar, how he went and tested the iman of the shepherd, right? And then he kind of did the same thing. Alhamdulillah, now the embassy of Sudan in Saudi Arabia and the shuyukh, mashayikh in Saudi Arabia, they actually honored him and gave him 200,000 riyals. As he was saying in the video, that even if you give me 200,000, I wouldn't give you the sheep. So you guys can check out that video. It's on all over YouTube and Facebook. But anyway.
I was actually saying to one of my colleagues today, we have some camels behind where I work. I said, look, man, let's go. You go and get the camera, and you come and ask me to give you the camel. And I say, no, even if you give me 1 million dirhams, I won't give you the camel. Maybe somebody will call me and give me 1 million dirhams. You never know, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's welcome our guest. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Brother Musa. How are you, brother? Alhamdulillah, barakallah feek. And we're happy to have you on the studio, and we're happy that you're here today. And inshallah, before we start asking you some questions about your story and how you became Muslim, we have a phone call that... we lost the phone call. Okay, so inshallah we ask the person to call back. But yeah, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll just dive into your story of how you became Muslim. I'm sure most of the people would like to hear, inshallah.
Yeah, sure. I'm from a Christian family,
okay.
French-Italian origins, and I've been practicing Christianity until I was like 17, 20 years old. I was really deep involved in Christian religion, so I knew about Islam at the beginning when I was very interested in science things like universe creation, like biology. I was looking a lot of videos on the web about all these things. I was very interested to know about many things. And
what type of Christian were you?
Actually, it's we're not very deep into Christianity. It was really like much more like kind of traditions, okay. and going to church because of mostly family traditions, not really like a specific branch of Christianity, okay. or
but like, you were practicing Christianity.
But yeah, practicing, but much more like not really practicing, but believing okay. in God, was like praying, praying like every day, and all the basic. But on the other hand, I never really never really believed in all the basic knowledge, like Trinity. I was just like believing in God, but without following all the other beliefs next to this what Christianity proposed. I mean, I was not so much following. There's a specific. So that's how I grew up.
You grew up in Italy?
In France.
In France, yeah. Okay. But you're coming from Italy, background from Italy?
Yeah, exactly. My family is from Italy indeed.
Where in Italy?
In south of Italy, yeah. South of Sicily.
Sicily?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sicily?
Yeah.
You're not like the mafia or something?
Yeah, it's
this
is all about media.
So you can speak Italian as well as French?
Yeah, exactly. Italian. Actually, my beginning language is much more like Sicilian. Sicilian dialect, which is different than Italian, but it's like.
So you say capiche?
Exactly. Yeah.
I see that in the mafia movies, you know.
Oh, okay.
Capiche? You get me, kind of thing, right? You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's better, French or Italian? What's your forte?
Both. As I grew up in France, I may be much more practical in France, but Italian as well, because to speak with family, they speak only Italian, so I had to. Right. Grew up also.
Okay, so you're saying that you were interested in Islam because of science. So can you tell us a bit more about how did this lead you or push you toward Islam, or what happened?
Yeah, actually, as I was mentioning before, I was very interested in. I was looking a lot of science videos on the web, and sometimes I used to see my first approach to Islam was some kind of videos when they are, explaining the creation of universe with verse of Quran, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran revealed to the Prophet Muhammad this great verse, amazing verse about the universe creation, the biology, all this kind of very specific science that we only discovered in our time. So that's how I try to begin interesting. At the beginning, I was a little bit reticent because you have this bad ideas about what you see in the media and about Islam. Okay. So I was keeping distance and not going too much in details, not trying to know much more about that. I was, it was like I was thinking about it. And then actually there was one very important event happened. Is my cousin convert to Islam as well. He accepted Islam, my cousin.
Inshallah.
And this
in France,
yeah, okay. Yeah. And this made me willing to know much more about and
were you close to him?
Yeah, we were very close also. Yeah.
Okay.
But so I tried to understand, and at this time actually I tried really to get involved and really to try to understand religions, and actually also to try to understand my Christianity, because I was only in Christianity from my family, and I was not very knowledgeable about this. I'm just like following because of my parents, because of the family. So then I tried to study, and then I realized that how it's, and I realized actually the truth about Islam, because I had completely another view. For me, it was something. It was another religion, like any other religion in the world. It was not for me. So I did not knew it was so close to all the prophets and messengers, and then I realized the truth about all the books and all the messengers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to the humanity. The truth about all the prophets like Moses and Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, and how Christianity actually became what it is now, which was not at the beginning. And this really was really it was really like I was amazing for me, because that's how I tried to know more, and then I realized Islam was most true, and actually I realized as well that it was much more close to what I was believing. Like Tawheed. I felt I had this from the beginning, because as I said before, I was not really involved in Trinity, and so I was just praying God. And I believe when I knew about Islam that it was even much more, even it was the event that it was the truth, and that it was even much more close to what I was
believing originally.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you now, but let's take a phone call now. We have Muhammad from Algeria. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Assalamu
alaikum, brothers. I want to share with you this discussion regarding mentioning names for people who converted to Islam. I want to mention a name for someone who's been converted to Islam a long time ago. It was his name, Cat Stevens, and his name now, he become Yusuf Islam, his famous singer. He was a singer.
Yes, those, and I think there's also a documentary about his whole conversion. It's a really good documentary on YouTube.
Okay, and thank you very much, brother, and enjoy your discussion.
Barakallah fi. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you. Yeah, it's actually he has a really nice story, and he was almost drowning, I believe, and something happened, and he asked God to save him, and quite amazing, and subhanAllah, very, very amazing story from who he was, and mashallah, how he became Muslim, subhanAllah. Sorry, back to Musa. What was your name initially? Sorry, we call you Musa, but I never...
Christopher.
Christopher, okay. Subhanallah, mashallah.
So it wasn't like Jean-Pierre or something?
Jean-Pierre. Okay, but in Italian would have been...
Christopher, actually.
Christopher, right?
Yeah, it's not exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you mentioned your cousin. I believe your cousin is a student of Medina University.
Exactly, yeah.
He's studying now in Medina?
Yeah, he's still studying. He completed the first 3 years of Lugha Arabia, the first to learn Arabic language, and inshallah he will start his next year in Kuliat, in the University of Dawah, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so going back to your story, you're saying that you were very close to Tawheed, like you felt, and it's not even that's how it was for me. When I became Muslim, I felt that already whatever I had before was very close and similar to what Islam is, saying. It was like so it was very familiar to me. It was very close.
Yeah, exactly. It was, it's completely pure. You can see in all the religion there is many. You can see this additional beliefs and that it's much more close to what we. I think even as we know. I mean, we when we grow up, the family and the environment makes us believing in such specific religion. But if we think about it really, for example, just children, they don't know about all these specific religions, all what they teach, and they just know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's all.
I did an interesting thing one time when I was in Romania, and I'm from Romania. I was actually in Romania. There's a group an ethnic group. They're called Al-Romaani, or people would call them Tsigani, or gypsies, right, in English. And they're usually not allowed in certain areas, or at that time anyway, to go into churches, right? And they have their own religion. Some of them converted to Christianity, some have been Christianized, but some of them have never gone to church, right? But they know about God So I just grabbed, I was actually walking on the street, and I was early into Islam, but I was talking to some kids, on the street, and I asked them, I said, okay guys, so how many gods are there, right? And they're looking at me like one, like these guys have they haven't been indoctrinated, because they haven't been if you want to learn, like, you need to be spoon-fed the doctrine of the Trinity, you can't realize that
exactly.
God is three, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, three distinct persons but one essence, So I asked them, so they're like looking at me kind of like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, hello, of course there's only one God, And I'm like, who's Jesus? They're like, he's like they didn't have like a indoctrinated answer, you know what I mean? They're like, the Son of God. But when I asked them, what do you mean by that? They're like, he's God loves him and God sent him. And so they didn't have that divine link that Christians have. We have another phone call now. Waqar Ali from Canada. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam.
I have a quick question for all three of you. What sort of support, or if any support, did you guys get from the Muslim community? Did you feel that you were welcomed, or you had the right kind of support, or you felt that it was lacking and that needs to improve?
Before we answer this, Waqar Ali, where are you from in Canada?
I'm actually from Vancouver, but I'm on a stint now in Baku, Azerbaijan.
Oh, cool. Really cool. All right. Ismail, did you feel the support from...
Well, when I became Muslim, for those who heard the story, I mean, it was due to some Muslims that I was at school with when I was 14. So they were Muslims who prayed themselves now and again. They didn't pray regularly. So I couldn't really turn to them for the guidance or knowledge or advice, because they themselves didn't really know what they were doing, or many a time I would be the one going to them and say, let's go and pray, and they would say, oh, so it was the other way around. So I didn't really have support then. When I found a mosque, I found that a lot of the elderly, as we'd say, uncles were there. They were, pretty much to themselves. They weren't really interested in really getting involved. Let's say salam, maybe a few of them be very friendly, but that would be that. And then I found at the time the only people there was a group of people which unfortunately weren't following the Sunnah. They happened to be Sufis.
Okay.
But they were the only people then who would say to me to... they would say to me to... they'd encourage me to pray, etc. But it was only when, they started to say to me, come and swear, make bay'ah, make allegiance to our particular sheikh in Manchester for whatever it was. And they had some strange ways of making dhikr, So alhamdulillah, I always felt something wasn't right, But I just used to be with them because they would say to me, pray, grow your beard, don't, leave the girls alone, leave the music alone, that kind of stuff. Okay. And alhamdulillah, afterwards, by myself, I started talking around and went to some people who were on the Sunnah. So for me, I had to do a lot of searching myself, and I had to get the bus from where I was living, which was pretty much no Muslims I knew of. And I used to have to commute on a bus 1 hour to a more Muslim populated area. So for me, in that sense, there wasn't any real support, no.
Moving back to Musa now, and into this question also that Brother Waqar was asking, how was it when you first became Muslim? What led you to become Muslim? And how were the first days, first weeks, first year? Did you find that you were welcomed? And how was the whole transition into Islam, telling your family and so on?
Yeah, at the beginning, it was. I got, of course, a very welcome from the brothers, the community, which.
And this was in France, right?
In France, exactly.
Where in France?
Actually, I was in the north of France. I was actually out of my home family for studying.
Okay.
And subhanAllah, this make me actually easier too, because with the family environment, it was very hard to, especially for the beginning, to start. When you try to learn how to for praying and all the Islamic, very to get the knowledge and to know. So I was in the northwest of France for my studies, and I start. That's when I start practicing.
So how did you decide? Okay, today I'll be Muslim. When? How was it? Or when was that breaking point?
Yeah, actually, we can say there was. I would say the break point was the time I started making salah regularly, because for a while I was, it was very. Because I was grew up in this Christianity and all this belief. I was, for example, just to mention, I was, wearing the cross every day, and I was like very many kind of things that it was not so easy for me to get out of this kind of things, because since I was very young, I always follow. But when I realized, when I really, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make me realize the truth, and when I start really practicing and I make the shahada, and then. At that time, I would say this was a real break with all the, because for a kind of quite long period of time, I was, there was still some doubts coming and in and out, and especially because of you think about how the family will react, and the big problems with the family and the things. So it's like it's quite a big decision. But when you realize the truth, then you cannot behave as if you did not know. Right. It's like you cannot hide this reality. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this that you are pleased about that, and you feel much more better. And subhanAllah, this makes you much more closer and makes you willing to do much more things, and actually willing to everything you do to do it to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's like, but. Yeah, did
you find acceptance from the community? Did people help you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. It was with the community of the town I was studying, and unfortunately there was not so much Muslim brother in my school where I was studying. But alhamdulillah, when I was outside, I was used to meet brothers, and also alhamdulillah, as brother Ismail was mentioning, I was meeting at the beginning of the brother. There was like alhamdulillah in the right path and following Islam the most correct way. So it made me understand the right knowledge and beliefs and behaviors from the beginning. Alhamdulillah.
How was it breaking into your family? How did you tell your family?
Yeah, it was. This was very hard, because actually when I started practicing outside of my home country. Then I had to come back in the south of France where I'm from, and I came back in my family house, and this was a big clash with them. They didn't accept it at all.
You just kind of told them, hey, I became Muslim.
Yeah, actually, not to shock them. I mean, just try to make it smoothly. And when they realize, when I tell them clearly, when they realize it was like that, they completely. I mean, because
did they blame your cousin? They say it's his fault. He brainwashed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what happened with my friend. Like they blamed a friend of mine that I was always close. Like he brainwashed you.
Yeah. They think about that. Indeed, they told me many times about this, but I tried to explain them that the truth is how it went, and so yeah, because they're like very even. I mean, a lot of course they don't know. I try to explain them what is really Islam because they have this other view. The view I had also before about what the medias are teaching and what they can see, and they will just make the similarities with someone they see in the street, and they say they don't know really what it is. So that's why I had first to learn them what I was really believing and practicing before to mention about any other things. But then with time, alhamdulillah, at the beginning it was very, very hard, and they didn't accept at all. I had to hide and
were you praying and hiding?
Yeah, I had.
How was that? I mean, I heard a lot of stories about people praying like.
I had one brother.
In closets.
He used to pray in his cupboard
or something like that. Closing and subhanallah. And
yeah, the thing is actually I was hiding not because I just wanted to avoid any conflict with them. You know, I just wanted to make things smooth and then understand. And that's why it went like that. But yeah, I had to. But alhamdulillah, I was most of the time like working out of home, so it's like also you can go pray to the masjid outside. But of course, sometimes you cannot hide so long time. So then it was a big. Always, even now, actually, they are still very reticent about. They know, but they don't want to hear about it. Because. I mean, even if they know this is the truth, and I'm sure even when I speak with them, they believe the same because they know about Christianity. When we see, how it goes in the world, they know something is wrong. Yes. But for them, it's much more like kind of. I mean, it's like the cultures and traditions that they don't want to break. And even if they know this is much. This is much close to the truth. I mean, when I speak with them, when I speak about the messenger, about the message, they still, are very reticent. So, inshallah, I'm trying to explain with them. But alhamdulillah, now it's much more easier, even for eating, even for they don't, they keep, they allow me to be more free.
So how long have you been Muslim now then?
It's now, it will be 8 years. 7-8 years.
I can relate to you because I have the same with my family. I find that, you kind of know. I mean, of course, one of them is watching. No, I don't. But you know that when you speak to them, you know that they can't really deny it. It makes sense because you can see when you're talking to somebody, whether even if it's not your family, they're like, oh, and then you can see that something they're thinking inside like. That makes sense. That's true. Like this scientific information,
Yes.
How can that be not from? How can we deny that? But they'll be like, well, everyone, like we say in England, each to his own. Everyone has his own way. So I can relate to you. In my family, I speak to them, and I kind of know deep down that they know it makes sense. But like you said, they believe that in this culture you're supposed to be like this.
Exactly.
And if you don't. It's like you're changing your nationality almost. How can we be British and how could I be a Muslim and how could I be bowing down on the floor? And
I don't want to be Pakistani.
Yeah, it's a Pakistani. They have that kind of even though we know that until now in the Bible it says that Jesus would go away from the disciples and fall on his face in prostration.
Exactly.
And he would wear almost the same clothes as...
He wouldn't like dance around, and like now everyone's
this is the point,
rapping or something. Praise the Lord or something.
Sorry, just if most people will check the latest video that the Dean Show posted. That was one of the funniest things I've seen. And it shows the worship of some of the down south Christians in the States. And I was like, man, what's going on with this? It was really, really, as you were saying, rapping and
it's more like
dance.
a party than worship,
party,
you know. And we don't mean to make fun of
people
as such, but as in we're making fun of the whole concept. Of how can you dance around.
How far away are you from Jesus, you know?
Like dancing around and all that kind of stuff, and there's a bunch of women dancing around next to you and you're checking them out at the same time. How's that worship, you know?
Yeah, because indeed, as we were saying before, they don't know actually the real story about just about. I was speaking with a friend of mine in France, and he's from a specific group of Christianity. And
so I have to cut you off. I'm like the cut master. So it doesn't sound sorry, but we have another phone call. Ismail is looking. He's like, let's go. Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Alaikum salam. Muhammad.
Yeah, Mohammed again from Algeria. Just I want to share a discussion for another point. For someone who's convert to Islam, when he converts to Islam, I think he should convey the Islam to his family, his mother, his father, his brothers, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين. Oh, who you believers, save yourself and your family from the hellfire. It's big hellfire. Thank you very much, brothers. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Brother Muhammad, mashallah, barakallahu fiqh. Yes, so it's a very important thing, as the Prophet was also ordered, in the ayah, وَانذِرْ أَشِرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, and warn al-ayah, and warn those people who are close to you. Sorry, I lost. You were talking about the same concept, and specifically, I want to ask you now to move a bit. How was it leaving your friends or telling your friends about your change, your decision to convert? How was that? Because a lot of people ask the same question. Okay, with family it's difficult, but how difficult is that? To leave that peer pressure, the friends, to change. To tell them, what, guys, I'm done with the partying, done with the girls, done with the boys, done with whatever. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, indeed, I had. I would say I lost with the time contact with some of the friends I had before close, but alhamdulillah, one of the closest friends I had, he understand it and he tried to understand and to learn also, and he because he knew me from before actually, and he knew. I explained him and actually. Most of the close friends indeed they didn't accept it, and they kept far with time. But just one of them is came close and tried to understand, and alhamdulillah is it's like I think it takes time to because also we are not very close. With far with distance. But actually, globally, to reply also what you were asking before, for the even before I was not like too much in bad things, so it was not so difficult to
change to leave it.
Well, we've got to go for another break now, so join us after the break.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says.
يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر.
Try to recap what we do here at Huda TV for the past week, and we try to share with you some of the latest news that is happening behind the scenes here at the station.
Living Islam would love a cooking show to be aired for Arabic dishes. Also more programs for children regarding manners.
We want to go ahead and take a look at our YouTube page right now and see how it looks as it stands. I'm on the screen right now, but I'm not on TV. I'm actually through YouTube, as you can see right there. It's the same exact thing that you see on TV here live. It's exactly the same thing that is on our YouTube page through our live streaming. A great way to stay in touch with us.
It's my first time to call Huda TV, but I like it too much.
Because there is no program in Huda TV that it is not important for our Muslims, inshallah.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Ça va, as they say in France.
Comment ça va?
Yes.
Ça va bien?
Actually, there's a comment that we got on the Facebook. No, it's in English.
Oh, man.
But it says here, Brother Muhammad Naufal says, Salam, regarding the subject, Islam as such does not benefit from any famous people becoming Muslim. Actually, it's the other way round. They benefit by getting into Islam as they stand a chance to get to Jannah. As a Muslim, we should be happy with anyone becoming a Muslim, not just famous people. This way, people getting the fake news conversion in the media would stop. Of course, I mean, we're not trying to say, oh, we wished all these famous people would become Muslim, but what we're trying to make the point is there are a lot of famous people who have the money, who have the fame, who have the so-called everything that they need in life, and they become Muslims. So we're focusing on just that they needed Islam. We're not saying Islam needs them, but no doubt if a famous, because unfortunately so many people, including Muslims and non-Muslims, idolize the famous people. So when a famous person becomes Muslim, sometimes people makes them think and they become Muslim. So when we want to give dawah to famous people, it's not because we Muslims are saying, you know, if I were to see Tom Cruise, I would not go and ask him for his autograph.
Yes.
You know, I would probably say hello to him to be as a Muslim polite and try and give him a dawah book or something. But ultimately, if he was to become Muslim, with those die-hard fans, it would expose people to Islam. That's what we're not
and that's the same reasoning what the Prophet ﷺ used to write the letters and invite some of the leaders.
And we know even from the Surah Abasa wa Tawalla, where Prophet ﷺ and Jahul A'ma, you know, where Prophet ﷺ frowned and turned away from the blind man because at the time he was speaking to very important people. And then obviously Allah says, you know, who knows, maybe this blind man will
Abdullah ibn Maktoum
will be even, you know, even better than them, you know. So that's what we're trying to emphasize. Of course, we're not trying to, play on those famous people that we wish they'd become Muslim because they're famous. Of course not. We wish everybody become Muslim, whether he's a cleaner who cleans toilets or whether he's a gangster rapper.
Another one that is very controversial within the whole world is Obama. Right? People always say that he's
who's that?
Obama. They say he's a Muslim, you know, the die-hard core, you know, the right-wing people. They say he is, he's a closet Muslim and this, and then the Muslims they wish he would be Muslim. And then I remember the first day when he was announced to be president of the United States, one of the brothers dies. He's like, our president is Barack. Hussein Obama, right? He was emphasizing Hussein, which is obviously a Muslim name. Anyway, let's go back to Musa for the time remaining. We have about a few minutes left. And Musa, let's, as we said, you know, the importance of, as brother Muhammad, yani, was talking about calling the family, and I was saying, you know, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, and warn your close people, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells to the Prophet in the Quran. Did you, and obviously you tried to give da'wah to your family. How about your friends? Did you give da'wah to your friends? And as you said, one of your friends was interested.
Yeah, exactly. Many occasions I speak to them and understand. Actually, now with since all these years now, I mean, if they didn't actually accept it before, it's becoming more and more difficult for them, because I mean, now they know I cannot tell. I mean, I try, of course. I know more and more, and I tell them, but I was speaking recently with a friend of mine. He's from actually a specific group of Christianity, and you know, they don't accept Trinity, they don't accept many things. And he had really strange arguments when he was speaking with him. But you know, I'm not really neither so much knowledgeable. But what I noticed actually, I mean, you actually already spoke about this before. Both point about, you know, when we see about all the community, actually even before we can notice that they never denied about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the creator, about the creation, and this is also about how we are teach about it into Islam, about the Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, which is agreed for all the community, where they are not agreeing in the what we call Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah, Tawhid al-Isma wa Sifat, which is how to worship Allah, and His name attributes, and to avoid the polytheism and things. But this is something I realized when I spoke with most of my friends. I mean, they know, but they know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I mean, about God, the creation, but they are too much into their own passions and don't want, actually, even if they realize, don't want to break, I mean, their own life, and they think, for example, the hereafter is too much far, and
they're scared of the changes.
And also caring about the change, indeed, also. Big change, and also most of the friends I spoke also was as it was for me before, the reaction of the family, the reaction of the community. This is also something which prevent them to accepting it.
Okay, for the last minute that we have, can you leave us with some advice for the new Muslims? I mean, what would you say to the viewers, the new Muslims, and the people who are watching?
Advice, I would say, to seek the knowledge, to seek the knowledge, and we never stop learning, and to make always into Quran, Hadith, and try to have also the good behavior, to show the people the good behavior about Muslim, to show the truth about Islam. I would say that it's two main advice.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, and inshallah we hope that we'll have you again as a guest on our show in the future. And it was quite enlightening.
Say in French, is it merci beaucoup?
Merci beaucoup. Man, you know, I used to speak a lot of French. Actually, my mom's a French teacher, so I should be ashamed of myself that I don't. I understand almost everything.
Ooh la la.
I don't know if that's French.
Mamma mia, Italian?
That's Italian, yes. But yes, again, inshallah, we will see each other. How do you say we will see each other in French?
À la prochaine.
À la prochaine, yes, alla prochaine.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Ci vediamo. Alla prossima. That's the end of the show. Another excellent show, I would say. Alhamdulillah. Again, if you want to contact us, shoot us an email. Send us an email.
Shoot us an email.
Don't shoot us. Send us an email or a message on Facebook, and if any questions or anything like that. And we hope to see you again next time, same place, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. This is your host, Gabriel Al-Romaani, and your funny host,
Ismail Bullock.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, He says, on all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn His reward. Don't forget the oppressed. And when you go to sleep at night,